Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 77 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This episode of the QCMP is sponsored by Midwood Guitar Studio, Charlotte, North Carolina's own boutique guitar shop located in Plaza Midwood. Midwood Guitar Studio not only has the finest selection in boutique guitars, but familiar names like Fender, Martin, Taylor, Two Rock, and many others. Whether it's a guitar, bass, amp, effects pedal, or a much-needed accessory, the knowledgeable and friendly staff at Midwood Guitar Studio will help guide you in the right direction for your next purchase. Midwood Guitar Studio also has a luthier on staff for all your repair needs. Visit their website at midwoodguitarstudio.com or stop in to see their unique shop at 1517 Central Avenue, Charlotte, North Carolina. By the way, if you're a fan of the podcast and want to find out more about me, head over to MatthewAblan.com. There you'll find links to my events calendar, current and past podcast episodes, my performance groups, and a whole host of other information. This month on episode 77, we welcome back Douglas Armstrong, owner of Midwood Guitar Studio. Douglas was on episode 2 of the podcast when we first started 7 years ago. I can't believe time has gone that fast. Douglas Armstrong, welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast.
Thank you, Matthew. Look forward to visiting with you.
Yeah, man. I should actually say welcome back because it's been quite a while since you've been on. I think you were on, episode 2 years ago?
I was thinking it was probably 5. Maybe longer.
You were on episode 2, like when I first started the podcast, and I was, that was actually 2017. That's the last time, not that I've talked to you, but the last time
7 years
that you had been on the podcast to tell us what's new.
Oh.
So I'm like, man, we got to get Douglas on more often, like just to, And I have to say right at the top, man, thank you for supporting the podcast and being a sponsor for so long. I mean, we really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. We're glad to do that.
So let's get into it. What have you been doing? What's going on with Midwood Guitar Studio? What have you guys been open? You guys opened in 2017?
No, we opened up in November 2016. So this is our 8th. November will be 8 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yep. That's kind of hard. Hard to believe it's almost 10 years. So it's like, it's going by pretty fast. You know, we've had a lot of different things happen in that window. The shop's changed a lot, I think, for the better. Mm-hmm. We have a really cool product mix now. When we first opened, everything was kind of unique, boutique, smaller made, which is great, but a lot of people didn't know what it was.
Right.
And it was very expensive. And then over time, we still kept some of those pieces. We brought in some bigger brands, which helped us. We've got different amplifier lines, pedal lines, acoustic guitars, electrics. We've added a lot of different stuff.
So when you guys started, you were all just boutique. It was strictly boutique shop.
Yes, sir.
And even in the back, you at first you had a couple of acoustics. You had a back room which you had did recording stuff. We're starting to do some recording things in, but that's changed too. So
the recording room really used to be my old studio in my house out in Weddington before I moved to the city.
Okay.
And so when I got the shop, I moved out of my studio home, but basically moved it to the shop. Mm-hmm. When we first started, we did not have a lot of acoustic guitars. So our recording equipment was in the current acoustic room, basically.
Okay.
So we used it some, but then over time, we had mobile technology. We had laptops and interfaces. We just didn't really need it. Right. We didn't really use it. It was just kind of plus, we also started getting busy, which is good. So if we had customers, you can't just close the room off for 2 or 3 hours to do a video.
True.
So sometimes we'd come in or stay late and do videos. But we really, with the technology, we didn't really have to be in that room.
Yeah.
And so this year, I just made a decision to kind of tear half the studio apart. So it was kind of like a hand-built reclaimed lumber console, basically.
Okay.
And so we got rid of most of the 500 gear and rack gear. And now we have like a dozen. We have like 100 acoustics in there now.
Wow.
So we used to have probably 10. This is 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's changed. And, since then, too, we have, Martin guitars in there, Taylor's in there. Bourgeois, which is a boutique brand, Collins, Mate Guitars, Tommy Manuel plays them, Keith Urban, a lot of famous people. Great plug-and-play guitar. We have Eastman, does a great job. And we recently just got Gibson, which we're excited about that.
Sweet.
So we have a lot of different – that's on the acoustic side. And
yeah,
same thing on the electric. We still have on the electric side Tom Anderson, Sir, PRS, that's import and the core guitars.
Right.
And private stock. Duesenberg, Fender Custom Shop, Nash. I'm going to forget somebody. We have a lot of different brands.
Well, when you guys started, you also, I remember after you had first opened and you were on the podcast like right at the beginning. We came in and we used to record back in that recording space that you had. So I had this nice little setup, and it was a central location. People would come in and just sit there, and it was really cool to have this background of guitars and stuff. But then we couldn't do it anymore because you guys were expanding so much. You're like, Matt, I would love to have you here, but I need the space now.
Yeah, that's I personally like it. I think last year I might have turned that on like maybe twice. Yeah, just me. I have a friend that plays music, and he's like, "Oh, can we cut a track?" Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, okay," which is cool. So we go in there, after hours and fumble through Pro Tools and whatever. It sounded good. Yeah, it was fun doing that, but I just don't have. I guess I could make the time, but I'm usually there 6 days a week, and that's kind of when it's time to roll out. I got other things I need to do.
Yeah, I mean, running the business is full time. I mean,
it is.
Are we a recording studio or are we a guitar shop?
Yeah, I would like to do some things, production wise, but we're really at a point where we're out of space. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. But our building is 3,000 square feet, so it's not the biggest, but big enough. Yeah, and it's probably 90% full, maybe a little more, mainly from a storage standpoint. Okay. Because every product we have a case for it, and we also have a box. Or if we don't have a box, we have to have broken down boxes that we have to ship because half our business is internet. So we have to have packing supplies for that, plus just the shelving for all the cases. Right. So, you got a couple hundred cases. So we recently just built some new shelves in the back. Mm-hmm. We used to have a cool kitchen in the back.
Cook up lunch. So
the kitchen's still there, but it was more like a green room lounge, with chairs and you hang out. And now it is 6 layers of shelving and couple hundred guitar cases. It still looks cool. Yeah. But it's not somewhere you're going to go hang out in the back anymore.
We're not cooking up.
No,
food.
And that, and we also in the luthier shop, we built overhead shelving in there too. Oh wow! For all the boxes. So yeah, it's we've maximized pretty much. I don't think there's that many. I don't know of any space we haven't used in there.
So when I remember, of course, when you guys were first starting the business, that you as we said, it was just straight up boutique. Mm-hmm. You actually had just started getting into the online thing. Right. The store didn't even have a luthier at that time. And then Craig Landau came in and he was your luthier for a bit. And then Craig retired. What's going on in the luthier area now?
Yeah. Craig retired. Craig had his own business and he came over when we opened and helped us and plus did his own work. And then for a couple of years, Craig trained my staff. Yeah. Sage Greer, my manager, got really good at setting up guitars because Craig and Jen spent time with him. So anything that we sold after Craig left, Sage would do the setup on it. Great. Whether it was a store or the internet, we still did that service because you have to. Yeah. And then about 3 years ago, we hired Philip Archibald. Mm-hmm. Philip was working in Savannah, Georgia for Benedetto Jazz Guitar. Oh, great. I had a customer. He actually was living up this way. I had a customer that sent me his Facebook post years ago. He goes, "Hey, this guy just moved here from Savannah. You might want to check him out." And we'd been talking about hiring somebody. And so I reached out and messaged Philip, and then we met for lunch. Had a good meeting, but we at that time he was exploring working direct. And I was like, "That's cool." I said, "But if you change your mind, we'll be interested in talking to you." And a couple months later, he called and he goes, "Hey, I'm interested in coming to work over there." And I said, "Great, let's get together." And Philip came over and has done a really good job. Plus, Craig spent a little time with him. Mm-hmm. I actually had Craig interviewed him. Oh, wow. So when I came in, I asked Craig to come in. Craig was good. I just wanted Craig's opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Craig's so well respected. Plus Sage bought into it. Plus, I would say Philip's background is more mathematical precision, and then Sage comes from a player perspective.
Right.
Like the math could be right, but if it doesn't feel right, he'll say it needs to be adjusted.
Yeah.
And so I think Sage worked really well with Philip from a player perspective, and Philip's gotten really good.
So is it bringing a lot of business into that area? Luthier's come, a lot of luthier work.
We've gotten, I mean, obviously you'd like to do more.
Yeah.
But we've been pretty fortunate because what happens to us, we have a good turnaround. He's around about a week and a half out, which is not bad. Some shops are a month or more.
Yeah.
And we do some on the spot. If somebody's in a jam or traveling, we'll, make an exception.
Sure. Or
we have a 5-minute rule. If we can fix it in 5 minutes, we're not going to charge you. Like sometimes it's simple.
Right.
It could be the solder came loose on a jack, or sometimes it's a battery in a pickup. It's simple stuff sometimes. But Philip's expanding. He's now doing fret work. He's always had that ability, but I didn't want to tie him down on doing a labor-intensive job.
Right. When
setups and store sales were more of a priority. So now we're working in maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of those a month, bigger jobs. Plus he's had some restoration work too.
Okay.
He has a lot of repeat customers, which is great. But we're always looking for new people. But a lot of his time, like on Mondays, we usually have a good internet weekend. So sometimes on Monday, Philip might do 6, 8, 10 internet guitars and not get to any local work.
Right.
So sometimes that, interrupts our local production. But there's some days there's not any. So he's able to make some progress.
So what's, just since we're dipping into it, what's the sales staff like for you guys? How many people you got on the crew?
There's 4 of us.
Okay.
So that's changed some over the years as well. It's myself, Sage Greer's our manager. Phillips is our luthier. But
Okay.
Philip helps me on Monday. I have another employee, Jake Roth. Jake's a young guy. Jake's 22.
Right.
He moved here. He's from the Hickory area, but was working in Detroit.
Okay.
And emailed the store about 1.5 years ago and was interested in working. At that time, I had Alex Thornton, who's a long-term employee. Alex worked there 7 years, but Alex started training to be a tattoo artist 2 years ago, and Alex was phasing himself out, and I needed another employee, and we met. And plus, Jake was just an independent. No one had ties to him.
Sure.
And he's done a really good job.
That's awesome.
So just 4 of us.
And so of course, besides you and Luthier have on staff, what kind of training you do for the guys when they come on? You're like, okay, you got to, besides, of course, know your material, know what we have in stock and all that kind of thing. And what do they got to know about guitars?
A lot of them, fortunately, they're all really good players. So a lot of it, I don't really have anybody that doesn't, not saying you have to be a great guitar player.
Right.
They're all really good. So that we don't have to really do a lot. Some of it could be like brand specific training on maybe some of their build techniques or something that might be a little bit different, or some pickup switching, stuff like that.
Right.
But a lot of it's more, probably since the internet's another thing where we might not physically be busy.
Sure.
But they're doing, every web listing's pretty unique.
Mm-hmm.
So every time we get product, like for instance, this past week, I think we've done 60. I haven't done it. They've done probably 60 guitars in the past week and a half, which is a lot.
Done 60.
Which means we get 60 guitars coming to the store.
Okay.
Which means they've got to inspect them. They've got to take photos of them. They have to create listings for those guitars
online
for them to go to the website.
All right. So since you brought it up more, let's talk about the online stuff. Yep. How has that been? Because I know when we first interviewed, you guys were starting to dip into it, and online sales were starting to build up for you. How is the internet sales compared to in shop?
It's about 50.
Yeah. Maybe
a little bit more, because we also still do Reverb. We also sell on Reverb.
Okay.
Which when we first started out, I think Reverb's a great channel for not having web presence, because there's so many people. It's like Amazon for guitars.
Sure.
So you can open a shop up and get some traffic automatically. And that helped us. But over time, the last, I would say 3 or 4 years, our store is number 1. Our website is right behind it as far as sales volume. And then Reverb's probably 3rd. And we do some custom PayPal orders as well. But it has grown. That's something I always work on. All the business is important.
Right.
Obviously, the store is the most important, because we're not packing and shipping.
Yeah.
And we're talking to customers like we're talking now. We've made some progress, but it kind of goes up and down. There's no rhyme or reason for, not that it's inconsistent, but you would think you'd be a certain number.
Yeah.
And then, the next month you might not be at that number, and it kind of goes back and forth. So it's kind of hard to figure out why that is.
How do you see that going? Because you got a company like Sweetwater, and they're kind of like dominating these online sales. But how does that affect smaller businesses like yourself? And I mean, we just recently saw Sam Ash close, and they're, from what I understand, I think they're just starting to get themselves so they become just an online store like Sweetwater at some point. They didn't just close down.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned, we're just a little drop in a bucket.
Yeah.
Compared to,
some of the bigger
those
guys.
are billion a year company, and we're a couple million a year.
Sure.
So it's like still a fair amount of business for the size business we are. A lot of it's horsepower and dollars. They have, hundreds of people writing content, blogs every day, writing product reviews, product videos. It's just impossible.
Right.
We do it. It's just at a smaller scale.
Sure.
And organically they show up. And then it's also a search term where it's like you buy in Amazon Prime. People just get used to doing it. And Sweetwater's a good company, and they just do it out of convenience.
Well, I think some of it is being a small business. You just learn what they're doing. Like, this is how these guys are doing it. This is, one of the things we have to build in. We've got to build in reviews and certain types of pictures. We can't have just a cruddy picture up there.
Oh, no, we take really good pictures. I think probably better than them from that standpoint. But it's more than that. It's about reaching, at the end of the day, it's about traffic. It's like, how do you get enough people? We're not going to triple our conversion rate. It's something I get frustrated with it, because you think it would be, conversion rate in e-commerce and guitar markets, fractional of a percent.
Yeah.
Not 1%. It's like probably a quarter, maybe. So if you double your conversion rate, that's only 0.5.
Right.
But you double your business if you can do that. And most retail is probably 1 to 3% conversion rate. So it's a big thing. And you have a lot of people shopping. I can't see you, but there's people add the cart and leave. And, in today's market, there's a lot of options. I would say COVID through 23, the customer local shop probably didn't have a lot of product.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have a lot of options. I think that part's changed. So it's a buyer's market.
Speaking of buyers, what's the things that are selling the most for you guys? I'd imagine there's certain things that you get in might not sell as many. Like, let's just say you have a certain Maker boutique guitar was a little more expensive, and then you have a Fender guitar. Are you selling more of this? Or are you selling more of that?
Last month,
what's going?
Last month, Fender Custom Shop was really popular.
Yeah.
Martin guitars. We have a lot of Martin. Prior to this year, it was very difficult to get Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Martin's build time was 12 to 18 months. But we received more guitars the first quarter this year than we did last year.
Wow.
So we ordered a lot more too. But Martin's incredible to work with. They're the only vendor from January 1 to March 31st that gives you 6 months, whatever you buy. And it's when it ships.
Wow.
It's not when you order it. So it allows you to make a big order. So the first quarter of the year, we had 3 big orders. I think I ordered the first one in January. I think we ordered 33 guitars. I wasn't really worried about it because it's 6 months. So worst case, they all ship. That's a lot of money, but 6 months.
Right.
And I asked my rep, I said, hey, do you want to just kind of run over projected delivery dates? Maybe Friday. This is like Wednesday.
Sure.
He goes, yeah, okay, cool. I was like, all right. Thursday, we get like 22 ship notices. And I haven't seen that in 8 years. So I emailed him. I said, never mind. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, I just got 22 ship notices. So there's, I know the answer.
And they're coming.
It's coming. I was like, holy crap. I was like, this never happened. Same thing in February, maybe not as many. We have, from those 3 big orders, we still have maybe 20 guitars open that are showing up. Like we're getting probably 2 or 4 a month.
Yeah.
And that'll go out through the rest of the year. So that'll help us. And we'll have to order. We've ordered a couple. We had a customer that wanted an OM28. We didn't have one. I've never really seen a Martin available list before. And this is like 2 months, 6 weeks ago. I got a list and they had a couple of OM28s. told the customer we can get one in probably a week. Contacted my Martin rep and said, hey, we want M28, and we got it in like 3 days.
Wow.
And so the guy came in the next week and paid for it, and it was great.
Dang.
Now, in the past, you go, it might be 6 months, or it might be, I really don't know.
Right.
They don't have everything in stock, but it's gotten better. Taylor's had product. If a customer wants a certain Taylor, it's probably in stock, and it's probably less than a week to get. So that part's changed.
Do you think that that has something like, I know during COVID, people were buying a lot of instruments.
Yep.
They were, I'm going to be home for a while. I want to have something to do. Has the market slowed down a little bit since COVID?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, our sales have been pretty similar, but I think what's happened, I think everybody ramped up production to meet the demand. And from a dealer perspective, most of us this is probably everybody tended to overorder because we didn't have product.
Right.
So the response would be, just get it in the queue, you can cancel it. Okay, so if you're at a manufacturer standpoint, the order sheets you had did not represent the real market. This is my opinion.
Right.
So builders are working on dealer orders probably for a couple of years. And most of them increase production capacity as well.
Sure.
To meet the demand. And I think what's happened, the market's still good excuse me a second.
Yeah.
From customers wanting product, prices have gone up a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, probably 15 to 40%, depending on what product. Some manufacturers had multiple increases. So I think what's happened this past year is there's a few people that have funny money.
Mm-hmm.
They just do it for fun and don't matter.
Right.
But most of us are not that way. And so a lot of the people cannot take everything that they ordered. So what's happened is there's some available stock. I might cancel 4 guitars. Another shop cancels 100.
Right.
Next thing you know, there's thousands of guitars that are available in a warehouse.
Right.
And that had happened before. And I think that's probably, I'd say in the past 6 to 12 months, that's happening. And that's why you see available stock. I mean, there's stock lists from companies that never have stock guitars. Not tons of them, but you see them.
But things have just gotten so expensive. Yeah. I mean, with the inflation, and I don't know, just what to attribute everything to. I mean, I can understand that. All right, so new guitars, salaries are going up, health benefits go up, material price goes up. Maybe if you are, you're renting, your space, that's got to go up. So this all goes into the price of the instruments. But I tell you what, used instruments.
Oh yeah,
we were talking earlier. Used instruments have just skyrocketed in price, and I'm like, seriously? What used to be nice to be able to, okay, I can't go buy this new Gibson, but I can afford the used one, and that has gone through the roof. It's crazy.
Yeah, some of that's gone down some. Yeah, the pricing's. I don't think it was really related to labor or material price. It was the buying market.
You think so?
I mean, I had some other builders that had no price increases.
Right.
So if it was across the board, everybody would be raising 10 or 20%.
Right.
And it wasn't across the board. It's certain people. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just, it's got to a point where it's outpriced the market.
Right.
So you are not paying $19.99 for guitar today.
Right.
2 years ago you would. You're probably paying $1,500 or $1,600 for it today.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You can get a deal today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, and I don't knock them because I love Gibson guitars. Yeah. But I remember going in, and Les Pauls were the expensive guitars, and you could buy an SG for $800 or, $700-800. Now I've seen SGs up $1,500 where the Les Pauls used to be. Or the lower tier Les Pauls, and the Les Pauls are over like $3,000 and change. I'm like, God bless you. I hope people are coming in every day and buying a ton of Les Pauls, but I don't see your average player going in and buying Les Pauls. And then the other thing that has changed too is you don't have identifiable players in the guitar world like you used to, who are, let's say, when Slash came along with Guns N' Roses, he put the Les Paul back on the map, in the late 80s and 90s. Or you had Kurt Cobain come on and what was he playing, a Jaguar or something like that. And, that put that guitar on the map. I don't think you have those certain players anymore who are identified with an instrument where people want to go and play. And then two, I don't think there's any huge massive rock bands the way there used to be, where people would see them and be like, that's what I want, Yeah,
I agree with you there. I mean, there's still some old school people probably our age that they know what they like.
Yeah. And they can afford it.
Right. It's a lot. I mean, we have we have a diverse customer base. We have a lot of musicians and we appreciate their support.
Yeah.
We have a lot of hobbyists. We have a lot of people that might not have been playing long, but they like nice stuff and they'll buy a nice guitar.
Sure. So
it's all over the place.
What do you see? I don't know if you keep track of demographics and stuff, but I mean, from a younger perspective of younger players coming in, what are they buying? What are they interested in? Are they traditionalists where they're buying Gibsons or Fenders, or are they don't care that much?
I would say probably more traditional. I mean, the Strat, Telly, Gibson style, 335 style guitars, just kind of all over the place. Nothing real modern. Same thing with amps.
Mm-hmm.
Like we sell a ton of like Fender Princeton Deluxe. Deluxe reverbs. Freeman, if somebody wants a little bit more metal,
right? Like
Freeman amps. Two Rock is still an incredible brand. Does very well. Very expensive, but we sell them.
Have you seen a move with everybody going into the digital world?
No, I think we saw that years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago when it first started. We kind of drifted that way, and some people sold all their amps and bought all digital and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of what we've seen is kind of going back to most people are wanting a quality tube amp.
Right.
They do have modeling stuff too for certain gigs. I would say some have both setups. It just depends.
Right.
On how they're using it. But amp sales are still good. So we currently don't really have a modeling line.
Okay.
We have some line 6 products.
Right.
But we don't have Kemper or Rev or anything like that at the moment.
I think it's easier for some folks to do the modeling thing. I know, and I mentioned on a previous podcast, when I went, saw Nita Strauss talking, and she's a guitar player for Alice Cooper, and she does solo stuff. And she had talked in a web interview, and she had said when she was on smaller tours doing her own band stuff, she would always use just a floor model of a Roland effects processor and go direct. And then when she was on bigger tours, she would use amps.
She had a rig.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just, a product of the times with the expense of touring for a lot of younger musicians and a lot of musicians.
Yeah, and some of the touring people don't have much time either.
Yeah.
They have everything pre-programmed. It's pretty amazing. They have all their sound. They might be doing stadium show in Charlotte for 2 nights and everything's set up. I mean, they might do sound check in 30 minutes to an hour because everything's the same, which is pretty amazing.
Speaking of which, do you guys have anybody who's on tour come through the shop? Anybody of note?
No, we've had some cool ones over the years, and we've had John Shanks of Bon Jovi comes in town every time he's here, he's super cool. Olivia Rodrigo was in there.
Oh, okay.
Last year was pretty cool. That was pretty.
Rodrigo and Gabriela.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. She she's playing the Spectrum Center. This is one Saturday morning, and I was in there, and we just opened, and this young girl and her friend came in, and they asked where the acoustics were, and I said, "Oh, back over here." And so they're in there playing for a while, and I just go in there and say, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" I didn't know who it was. I said, "You all good?" He goes, "Yeah, we're good." She's like, "Do you have a capo?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get you one." And she had like a ball cap on, and I started talking to him, and I was like, "Oh, hey," I said, "You guys got family in town? Or what are you visiting friends or family?" And they're like, "No, we're here for a show." I'm like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "Where are you playing?" He goes, "Spectrum." I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, "Uh-oh." And then our manager, Sage, he was going to the Olivia Rodrigo show that night.
Yeah.
And I came out and went into the shop, and he was in there talking to Phil. I said, your girl's in there. I said, Olivia's in the acoustic room playing. He goes, there's no way she's in there. I was like, I'm 100% sure it's her. And so he brought him a T-shirt to go to the concert that night.
Yeah.
So he goes in the back and like changes his shirt. He comes out, and I said, don't go in there, bugger. And he goes, I won't. So he goes in there and checks on her again, and then she's coming out. And then he goes, I have to be honest. He goes, I'm a huge fan, and I'm going to your show tonight, and just want to say, I appreciate what you do, and I look forward to seeing the show. And so they took a few pictures, but she was super sweet. Okay. They're asking where else they want to go.
Yeah.
She's young. She's like early 20s. A big TikTok.
I have no idea who she is. When you said Olivia Rodrigo, I'm thinking the Rodrigo and Gabriella, the duo that plays.
No, she's very popular. She's probably like the new Taylor, a different type of music. Right. You should look her up, but still, she's very popular. So she was like walking around Plaza, doing different places. I think she went to Lunchbox and Snooze for breakfast. Right. I don't know.
Keeping a low profile.
Yeah. And we also had recently, Kiefer Sutherland was in there.
Oh, great.
A few months ago. It was pretty cool. And I kind of grew up, we're probably the same age too.
Yeah.
Watching his movies, and he came in and he's like, you got GS Mini? I'm like, yeah, I got one. He goes in there, he's playing. And, he says, do you have a nice capo? I'm like, yeah. He goes, here's my card. I'll get it when I come out. And he's had his card down, and I said, my employees, Jake's, is 22.
Yeah.
Say they're all young. I said, you know who that is? They go, no, I do. I'm like, that's Kiefer Sutherland. They're like, no, it's not. I was like, yeah. And I had his card, and I flipped it over, and I was like, Kiefer Sutherland. So he was super nice. He's probably stayed 30 minutes, and
nice.
He bought the GS Mini. So that was like this year. I wasn't here for this one. This was probably the coolest visit about a year ago.
Yeah.
My wife and I were in Phoenix visiting our daughter. I was on the airplane coming back Sunday, and my phone synced up to the website. If we get an order, you just get a notification. Doesn't mean it's always accurate. And I was getting ready to take off, and I got like 4, 5, 6, ding, 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 ding. And I started texting Sage. I'm like, hey, so are you making changes to listings or what's going on? I didn't finish texting it. And then he texts, and he goes, hey, if you see those little inventories, they're legit. He said, Eric Church is in the shop, and he's buying like 5 or 6 guitars. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's great.
And so he tracked this. So apparently when he travels, he likes supporting local guitar shops all over the country.
Oh, that's nice.
And he does not like coming in during business hours. And they were playing PNC Sunday evening. Mm-hmm. And he tracked down my old manager, who was nice enough to connect him with Sage. Sage was not available, but connected him to Jake. And then Jake met Eric and his manager at the shop Sunday afternoon. I think they were there for maybe 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then he left. I think he was there till like 5:30. But yeah, he dropped a lot, which was a nice. It was at the end of the month, so it was a nice surprise.
Wow.
I think he bought like 5 really nice guitars. So wow. That was a nice visit. So he's welcome to come back anytime. Yeah.
Whenever he's in town, he's got an open invitation.
That was a total surprise. We've had like George Strait's runner bought like 10 packs of strings last month when he was in town. I didn't meet George or anything, but we've had like Bob Seger's roadies come in.
That's great.
You just never know who's coming in there.
Yeah.
Red Volgert, a guitar player from Earl Haggard. I've met him a couple times.
Okay.
He's super nice. Badass guitar player.
And sometimes you wouldn't even recognize him.
I did, because he's like a stocky, like redheaded guy, and he came in with a cap, and of course no one else knew who he was. And
that's hysterical.
Nicest guy in the world. But he was playing. He just moved here from, where was he living? I think he might have been out west. He had just moved to Virginia, and he was in town to go to the airport to pick up a family member.
Yeah,
and just happened to be. He actually plays at the Thirsty Beaver in Plaza a couple times a year.
That's great.
Yeah, so check him out, Red Volgert.
Okay.
Yeah, incredible guy. I'm trying to think I don't know. We've had a lot. We had.
Are the guys doing pictures with them? Are they getting pictures with all these artists?
Sometimes I don't bug people.
Yeah,
it's been kind of. We haven't like tried to.
I'm like, man, that would be great. Just put on the wall.
It would be. A lot of it's like memory. We could come up with some stuff. I don't like try to.
Yeah.
The Olivia, we have pictures of her, but the rest of them, I think we got pictures of Shanks too. We didn't get one with Kiefer. We didn't.
No,
we didn't bug him for that. But the second. I think in 2017, Gene Simmons did an event there. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No.
The Vault Tour.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, but it was it was very crowded, but basically the fans would buy an expensive ticket and they have their vault of all his unreleased material.
Yeah.
And he would sign it. So that was pretty neat too. So
speaking of which, you guys, when you were opening years ago, when you guys had opened, you were doing still at Midwood.
Yeah, we did a few.
Are you still on it?
We have so much inventory now.
Yeah.
Like our floor is covered. So now it takes us about 2 hours.
Okay.
To get ready for something.
Right.
I probably should bring some of it back, but it's also hard. Well, really, I had some friends we started doing the Song on Central event, which was really good. Mm-hmm. It was like a singer-songwriter round. And that was pretty popular. And then after that, I had some friends that were touring artists that would come do small shows at a higher ticket price. We've done several of those. And it really since COVID, I've done maybe a half a dozen. A lot of it's just because we've grown and just have so much product.
Well, I even remember since the shop is so beautiful that you told me you even had kids coming in from like high school getting photos.
Yeah,
Are you still doing that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. We have we're right down the street from CP.
Yeah.
The nation's largest community college. And they have a photography group there, and they come in every once in a while, and they're like, can we take pictures? I'm like, sure. So they take photos just to practice.
That's awesome.
But we've had a couple people that love playing guitar, and they asked if they can come and take senior pictures. I don't think we've done one this year, but in the past, we've done stuff like that. We've hosted some private events for people's birthdays or corporate parties, stuff like that. Happens occasionally.
That's great.
So you just never know. Yeah, the building's beautiful, man. So it's we're really proud of it. Didn't have to do a whole lot because it was just had the cool bones about the building.
Yeah,
being in a really cool neighborhood in Charlotte. Built in the early 40s, owned by one family.
Yeah.
Since then, unfortunately, I don't own the building. I wish I did, but
yeah, I should say, if you haven't listened to it, audience, go back and listen to episode 2 of the Queen City Music Podcast. And Doug goes through the whole history of Midwood Guitar Studio and tells you about all the building and how the shop came into being.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. You don't even remember that, do you?
I remember talking.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been 7 years.
Yeah. I just was like, when was the last time Douglas was on?
7.
Dang. Was it that long ago?
Wow.
Because like I said, I had seen you a few times at the shop when I've come in but not on the podcast. I'm like, why hasn't he been back? And that's why I've been bugging you like lately. I'm like, and then we connected, it's like, oh, okay, we need to get you back on and talk.
That's awesome.
Man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What
Anytime,
you do over here.
Man, you got an open invitation to come in.
Cool. Just let me know. I know where you are now.
Is that a good thing or bad?
That's all good.
No. So I'm curious, in recent months, we've had like in Charlotte, Sam Ash, one of the major guitar and music retailers have closed. How do you see that affecting business? Has it affected you guys at all, positively, negatively? Has it affected, has there been ripples through the industry a little bit that you know of?
I don't think initially, it's pretty sad. I have some friends over there that work there. And,
yeah.
It's a legacy business. It's been open for 100 years, which is crazy. We've had, I don't know if you know the whole story, but when that first came out a couple months ago, they were closing, I think, 18 stores.
Yes.
Charlotte wasn't part of round one.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, they made a decision to close all the stores. So that all happened like within a couple weeks.
Wow.
So that was kind of surprising. I would say we've had some people go, hey, I've been a loyal Sam Ash customer and I need to go somewhere else. And fortunately, there's not a lot of options. Right. We've had some repair business. Nothing like crazy, but we've had some people call and visit. And we still have people that come in every day or every week that they're like, how long have you been here? We're like, this is our 8th year. I never knew that y'all were here. So we still, even when you work hard digital marketing wise, there's some people don't find you organically. So, we have people every week that come in that, they or walk by a plaza and we're closed because we close at 6. So it's like, we're not open at 9. Right. They might be eating and drinking. They're like, well, you never open. I'm like, well, we're open during the day.
Weekends.
Like I saw a guy, we sponsor a singer-songwriter event at Town Brewing Company.
Yeah.
On Wesley Heights. And one of the guys, I recognized him. I was talking to him and just thanked him for playing. And he goes, yeah, I get my strings from you. I'm like, yeah, I recognize you. I said, I appreciate it. And he goes, man, I wish you were open on Sunday. I was like, well, you know what? I'm just a text away. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I have the chat widget. I said, I live 10 minutes away. I said, if you're in a bind, message me. If I'm available, I'll run over here and get you some strings. He goes, well, yeah. I was like, yeah, not a big deal. It's like,
oh, that's nice.
And some people can't, I wish I thought about Sunday. It's like, man, it's really a situation where it's almost like a lost revenue day where some people can't, maybe they only can go but visit Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. When we first opened, we tried it and we weren't successful, but that was 8 years ago.
Right.
So I don't know. I might think about it.
Trial run.
Or I might even do a pop-up, maybe 2 weekends in a month and see what happens.
There you go.
But even if you're just answering a phone, it's like a 24-hour. It's not like people call you all the time, but it might not be, it could be local or it could be somebody in California, New York asking a question about guitar. So, so I've thought about it. That's about the only thing from operation, but then I have to staff it. So it's like, you have to. It's not really expensive. It's just they already work Tuesday through Saturday, right? And I work Monday. We used to be closed Mondays, and then after COVID, I'm like, we have to ship product. We can't be closed on Mondays,
right?
So I took Mondays, and then Philip works with me. Philip works Monday through Friday, so it's Philip and I on Mondays, and then Sage, Jake, myself, and Philip work.
Okay,
those guys work Tuesday through Saturday, so. But still, Sunday still might be something that we might try just to be available.
Right.
We wouldn't be doing service work, but, we could sell strings and accessories or somebody come check out a guitar or whatever. That's probably the only thing we haven't done.
This Sundays?
Yeah. But sometimes you got to take a day,
You got to enjoy yourself. I mean, you can't work all the time.
No, you can't.
But even at a pop-up might be a good idea for you, occasionally.
Might try that, just to see what kind of feedback it gets. But going back, sorry, I rambled on. But Sam Ash, I think I used to shop there personally years ago, and good company. It's sad, but it's also like a reminder of the reality of the world we're in too.
Yeah.
So it's no different. It's just a scale issue. The same challenges we have. They have times 200. So it's like, every business.
Yeah.
It's an overhead function. I don't know how much property they own. I've heard different stories on. I don't know that piece of the equation. It's usually not the property, but it's really an overhead function where, that building's very big. And then to staff it.
Sure.
And then with the challenges, the inventory, you take inventory management times 40 locations, it could be pretty overwhelming.
And you're not even dealing with just guitars. You're dealing with...
they have full-blown pro audio.
Yeah.
They don't think they have piano. Well, keyboards, pro audio, drums, string instruments, and I noticed everything. So
one thing I noticed, and I don't want to knock anybody, but Guitar Center and Sam Ash, I noticed over the years I would go there, and it seemed like the staff would get less and less knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. They didn't know the product as well. Well, oh no, we got this, or I don't even know, and I was like, okay. So
some of that happens. It's probably can be a high turnover position. I think too, what's happened is the staff's got leaner. I'm sure less people. We've done the same thing. We were overstaffed for a while, but the reality is 3 or 4 people for our shop is
a lot.
That's all you're going to see, I think.
Well, no, at some spots, like it might be also a sign of the times with things, because I remember talking to Steve Stokel about stuff, and even Steve's local repair guy, or was a local repair. Yep. He had a repair shop in town, doing electronics. And Steve posts occasionally on Facebook, and he'd talk about how, when he was younger, the companies would send him out, and he'd have to go get training, all these devices to do repairs, and he'd have to get certified. And it's like, I'm not really sure that they do that much anymore, for even repair people to like get certified to repair stuff. It's almost like, yeah, we don't repair stuff anymore. We almost just throw it out, and everything. Yeah. People aren't as knowledgeable about the stuff that they use anymore and how it works.
It's that, but sometimes the warranty repair center can be maybe a nightmare as well.
Yeah.
Because you are the go-to shop, and then you have to deal with all that.
Right.
And then figuring out what the estimate is and what they're willing to pay you. So it's the flip side of, you might have a $200 bill and they're willing to pay $100 of it.
Right.
So then you're in the issue with the customer of how to handle the balance of it. Could be a challenge. And some of currently we have dabbled, like there's a Martin, I think North Carolina has a couple Martin repair centers. Mm-hmm. And that one guy, that's what they do. They stay busy. They're pretty much, I would say 80%.
Right.
The repair shop for Martin or for Taylor. We've considered Taylor. We'll probably do that. It's not that difficult to do. Probably more paperwork related. But some of our reps, our Martin and Taylor rep, do come out probably twice a year, and they do provide some training. Probably new product related versus like, repair per se.
Right.
It's still available.
It is. I just feel more and more when I go into shops where I've talked to some folks, not specifically like Midwood Guitar Studio, but just like the bigger stuff, because they have to accomplish more things that the folks that are there are not necessarily as knowledgeable as you would like them to be about whatever products that they've got going on.
No, I'm with you.
And that could be the amount of products, the amount of time that they've been at the store, the training they go through. I mean, how technology changes all the time. If I'm going in the store and I need a Shure SM58, well, that hasn't really changed much over the years. Mm-hmm. Do you want the one with the switch? Do you want the one that doesn't have the switch? Which one would you like? This is, tried and true. But you start talking about software and things. I mean, that's changing like month to month.
Well, that's another specialty thing too. So it's like, and that's probably a specialty thing too, where you're probably going to, if you're in the software, you're probably at Vintage King or maybe even Sweetwater. Yeah. Maybe because they do have salespeople that just sell that product. I'm not sure where, I guess Guitar Center has some, but I wouldn't really consider, I'm not knocking them, but I wouldn't consider them software specialists. Yeah. Plus now everything's download. You can pretty much go to Pro Tools or wherever you want and just get it like everything else. Yeah. It's like shopping online, and guess what? It's in your computer, and 30 seconds later.
That's a good thought.
So it's different. So you used to have to go buy the book and download it.
Right.
And now
you get discs, and now it's like,
no, it's the download.
Yeah. So. I know I used the music software, Sibelius. It's a notation software. And at some point I still had the old discs, and I tried to reinstall it, and I had issues. And when I contacted them, they said, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll just download everything now. We don't even do discs anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Wow. Amazing." That's the world we live in at this point.
What are they doing? What's the Pro Tools, the lock? What is the little, they have that one little
device. The iLock?
Yeah, the iLock. Yes. You still have, that's still there.
That's part of the reason I don't use Pro Tools anymore.
What are you using?
I'm using Studio One.
Oh, cool.
They're not as proprietary. They got bought up by Fender a couple of years ago, and we'll see what happens with them. But they're a fantastic recording program.
I think actually the Studio, in their free version too?
Studio One? I'm not sure.
Really?
Not sure.
I know they do offer, I'm not sure which version it is, but I think there is a free software.
I know they got a couple of different versions. Professionals, the higher end one, and then you've got like the artist version where you only get certain things with it. But
it looks good from here. It almost looks like Pro Tools almost.
Yeah,
similar.
All the stuff is essentially the same. All the DAWs are, but Studio One just wound
maybe it's easier
clicking with me, So, but Studio Pro Tools just got to be a little bit pain in the butt for me, and I know a lot of people wind up switching. The iLock, you couldn't use things and open things up unless you brought this silly little key around with you everywhere you wanted to go to open it. And it's like, I don't want to do that.
Yep.
You know, I want to start my software, or if I'm traveling, I want to start it up. I don't.
Plus, I'm sure that's a lot less, especially if you're starting out.
Yeah.
The Studio One would be a lot less money.
I don't even know what Pro Tools costs anymore.
I don't either.
But I do know, and I don't know if Studio One has done it because I haven't had a chance, but everything has become this a la carte kind of menu, whereas you pay for everything. So if you want service and you need to talk to somebody and you're having technical difficulties, you have to sign up and pay for technical service. And you have to pay whatever, $95 for the year or whatever it is. And after a while, it's just like, I don't want to pay for every little thing, man. So unfortunately.
Are you doing other recording, or is it mainly podcasts on this? Or
No, I do podcasts. I do music recording. Yeah.
Okay.
A whole bunch of different stuff. I love this. Love it. I have my CD coming a while ago.
Are you limited, like how many tracks you can do on that, or is it?
I don't even know. I've never hit a limit on it. I'm sure there is a limit at some point, right. But I mean, it's like 100 and something.
Oh, no, you ain't. That's a lot.
You know, I've done mixing, and so, I mean, I've had 32, 40 tracks going at the same time, and I don't really have an issue. So, pretty simple stuff.
I'll have to check it out one day if I ever turn mine back on.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's so nice that in the 21st century, we can just have all this stuff right in front of us and just do it.
Do you have a drum software do you like?
I do, yeah.
What do you like?
I have Easy Drummer.
Okay.
So, and then I just use some different loops and things like that.
Did you ever hear of BFD?
I have, yeah.
That's the one I used to have. I like that one a lot too.
And I'm sure that's changed.
I didn't never use it properly, but yeah.
I mean, Easy Drummer's also, you know, they're up.
It's pretty cool because you can download the complete. It's no different than Easy Drummer. You can insert it and you can break it down in stems.
Yep.
Or you can go in there and change the whole. If you find something similar to what you want, you can go in there and just kind of rearrange it.
Yeah.
And then you can like print the stems and stick them in there, and it's kind of crazy.
Especially
if you're by yourself, it's kind of fun. Like I used to like it to mess around. If you're just doing stuff by yourself.
Yeah.
Or even a little project, you can do it, and then you can. Like I did one project one time in BFD and sent it to a friend that's a drummer. I'm like, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Feel free to do whatever. And then he'd send back his version of live drums. And it was pretty neat.
It's a wonderful time to be alive as a musician. I'll tell you that. I mean, you have a $1 million studio sitting in your bedroom.
For a lot less money.
Yeah.
That's what I had. I've had some people, I mean, we don't really do the studio stuff, but I'll still provide like we're doing talking. Sure. And I had this one young guy in there. He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm starting up a studio." I'm like, "Cool." I said, "What do I need?" I was like, "Well, depends on what you're doing." But I said, you need a nice interface. You need a couple of good quality microphones, depending on what you're recording, and maybe a couple of 500 series mic pre's. I said, that's really it. And nice software. I said, you can expand. He goes, I don't need all this hardware. I'm like, no. I said, not unless you have money to burn.
Yeah.
But so you can get a couple $100 plug-in from UA or another manufacturers, and plug-ins are incredible.
Yeah.
And I've done some A/B testing, and I can't say it's worth $5,000 to buy the hardware.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Some people are hardware.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying if you're starting out and you have, $50,000 to go buy a bunch of hardware, it's different.
Yeah.
But if you're not, and you're starting a business, use the tools and then buy them as you go. Yeah. If you get business and do better and you want to buy a EQ or something, a compressor, go buy it. But the plugins are right there. You can use any compressor you need.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the way you should start. That's just my opinion. And then you don't have a ton of money in it. If it doesn't work out, you're in the hole maybe couple grand versus a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't need that if you don't have the business. So.
And you don't even have to do anything. Like you don't have to soundproof a room these days because you can do everything right in the box. I mean, maybe if you're doing lyrics or singing or rappers or something like that, you have to have something to encase them in so that they're, you get a better quality sound when you're recording. But other than that, no.
You still, even not, you still, if you have quality mics and settings, you can get some good stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good music made in a room just like this.
Yeah. I mean, when I started out, I just had my little portable setup and, which was fine. I think I was using, a smaller version of I forget what version of Pro Tools it was. When I first started recording, I just had a couple of SM58 mics, Yep. I didn't even have these Shure SM7Bs or anything. And, people would be like, man, you're recording on this? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, your podcast sounds pretty good and you're just using Shures. And I was like, yeah, that's a good, SM58's a good mic. I mean, it's pick up vocals. Industry standard, so anyway, cool. Douglas, what do you got going on at the shop and new stuff coming up? You said you got Gibson guitars coming in?
Yeah. The cool thing is about a month ago, I guess I've been trying I think when we first opened, we might have had an opportunity. We didn't really pursue it because we had so much stuff starting out.
Yeah.
And then probably pre-COVID, I started reaching out to them, trying to figure out who to reach out to.
Yeah.
And I would send maybe a couple emails, maybe four a year, maybe. And then sometimes I'd get an answer response. Sometimes I wouldn't. Whatever. So I figured it's time to email them, and I did that for a while. And I finally, the thing that really helped us is we were already established as a Gibson brand dealer because we had Mesa Boogie. Gotcha. Gibson bought Mesa 3 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
So I had a contact, and not a guitar, but I had a contact in the accounting department, and that really helped us. And then just kind of stayed persistent, and I didn't do anything. I just got lucky. And it also could have been timing. Sam Ash is gone.
Sure.
They also, believe it or not, have it could be changing as I'm speaking, but as of last month, there's no independent Gibson dealer in North Carolina, which is nuts.
Wow.
So there was Sam Ash Guitar Center. There were a couple other small ones, but most of those are out of business. So there's no independent whatsoever. So I thought it'd be a really good opportunity for us.
Yeah.
So we had a really good call a couple months ago, and then it got quiet, and I was like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And then we recircled, had another good meeting, and they just said, hey, you already pre-approved because you have Mesa. Here's your terms. And we didn't get they just asked us what we're comfortable stocking, and said we can handle probably 30 guitars. It's a mix of, Gibson USA, Gibson Custom Shop, Gibson Acoustics, and Epiphone.
Right.
So we didn't have to buy 200 guitars or anything. So that was pretty straightforward. They had some available guitars that we grabbed a couple weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, we got probably a dozen guitars. We got another one yesterday. They do an order system. Their orders go in August 1st through May. So we just ordered July 1st. We just ordered 2 weeks ago. And those orders will start getting delivered this fall. So the stuff we ordered will probably start coming in September.
What kind of stuff are you ordering? Getting some Les Paul,
Gibson,
some SGs.
USA Gibson Les Paul 335, Custom Shop R9s, VOS 335s, SGs, Gibson.
Any acoustics?
No, acoustics too. I'd say probably 75% be electric, but we are getting acoustics.
Yeah.
And we also have the Gibson-inspired Epiphone, Custom Shop Epiphones that are cool.
Cool.
Those will be at a good price point. Those will start coming in too. So pretty much their whole, we have access to anything they make.
Right.
And we have access to, there's guitars that are available weekly, or they might have a special run, and we'll get an opportunity to get some of that product too. So we're excited about that, especially
that's awesome.
Not having that many people, even though it's such an iconic brand.
Right.
We're very fortunate. So that's probably the only brand we haven't had, because everybody's always come in and goes, where's the Gibsons? We're we've had some used ones. We sold a bunch of used ones.
Yeah.
So we don't have to say that anymore. So we're excited for that opportunity.
That's
so
awesome,
I'd like to thank Gibson for that. So it was pretty cool, because a lot of people chasing them, and we just got lucky, and I look forward to growing our business with them. So
I imagine, I don't know the ins and outs of the business, but I imagine should you have to chase them, you'd think they would want as many people who, are shops as possible to carry their product.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know the ins and outs.
I don't know. I don't know either. I think they've gone through some changes too. So I really don't know. I don't need to worry about it anymore. So I do. It's like I'm part of the team. So it's somebody else can worry about it. So it's like, I've always been persistent and like, I don't know, just try to not bug people, but just make an effort. And it's like, whatever. And I've told you, I've had some other brands too.
Yeah.
That, we've had no luck with.
We don't have to name names if you don't want to.
It's fine. It's not like it's top secret, but we've had another amp brand that's in North Carolina that we've been interested in carrying for years, and people would come in and go, "Hey, why don't you have car amps?" Well, we can't get them because they've already got 2 other dealers in North Carolina. Right. So probably next month, probably middle of August, maybe late August, we'll have our first batch of car amps. So
that's awesome.
That's another new brand. So we're not bringing in a bunch of things, but that was just an opportunity where that's a great company here in North Carolina. We've got a local base. Plus we can sell online, but we have local customers that buy from other shops because we don't have them. So
it begs the question, just a curiosity, are there any brands that you have phased out carrying? Maybe they haven't done as well as you thought?
Not necessarily. I mean, some of the COVID phase, we got phased out. Some brands went direct and they terminated a whole dealer. So
gotcha.
We went through some of that. From a business standpoint, it's like we haven't really, I wouldn't say I have a phased out list. I have some that we might stock less of.
Right.
Or if you want a certain guitar, we can get it. It's just a balance because we only can do so much.
Right.
So it could mean, that's a good question. So it's like we're still figuring that out.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's just managing, like we're not getting rid of anybody. It just might be a little bit of less.
Right.
We have the capacity. It's just a matter of projecting. The hardest part is, like I told you earlier, is managing what's coming in.
Yeah.
Because you have some manufacturers ship you stuff maybe a month earlier. So if you're expecting, $10,000 or $20,000 order to come in September 1st and it shows up July 16th, it could be we get through it, but it creates a problem because you have to shuffle and
right.
Because you got other stuff you've got scheduled.
Sure.
So you need to do a payables or project it out really monthly.
Damn.
You got a plan for what the month is. And sometimes you have stuff that drops with no terms,
right?
Which that hurts. If you have a big bill that shows up, you got to take care of it.
Yeah.
So those, it does happen. So it's like you don't think about that, or you go, "Hey, I'm not going to name a brand, but we've got a 30, 60, 90 day special. Save 10%, 30, 60, 90 day terms. And let's just say you got whatever, $15,000 in credit line open. Oh, you got plenty of credit line. Okay. It's whatever, 15 grand. Oh, cool. All right. Release them. Okay. They'll be there next week. And then there's nothing else shipping. And then the next week they go, "Oh, hey, you have 3 custom guitars that are ready to ship." And that's another 10.
Right.
And then you have to go out of your pocket to pay for it.
Right.
And so that's kind of the balance of, if I'd have known that, I probably wouldn't have bought the other.
Yes.
And then you times that times 20 brands and it adds up. Like, it's like not little things. So it's, that's the hardest. Like I told you, I'm not whining about it, but that's the hardest thing.
Well, I'm sure that's
it's trying to project that.
You may have been burned on once or twice.
Yeah.
And then in the future,
sometimes
you're like,
you can't,
I'm not doing that.
You can't really control it. It's
right.
like you try, and most of the companies, for the most part, work with us. It's just, I hate saying no, but it's like you can't. And most of them work with you where they'll shuffle something around or maybe hold it for a few weeks.
Right.
It's not like you don't want it. It's just when you get, we work with, I don't know, there's probably 30 or 40 people that we direct pay.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of vendors. And it's, wow. You have a lot to keep up with. It's not like it's
got some plates in the air.
It's not that hard. It's just you have to make the effort and schedule it. And because we don't really have a full time. I have a lady that helps us. She does a great job. That she does all our reconciliation, banking at the end of the month. But I basically do all the day to day.
Well, you got to know what's coming in, what's going out,
transaction,
what
all the QuickBooks
selling.
stuff I do, and then I do projected payables, and I do all the cost reports, and then she does all the balancing and checks everything. So that's it. It's pretty lean. Like there's no office in the shop, which is we're not going anywhere. But I told Sage, like, if we ever get another space. I said, I don't want a big office, but
a little something.
Maybe somewhere I could go put a computer and close the door, maybe make a phone call. But now it's like we'll sit in the living area.
Right.
Well, there's not a customer there, but we make do. But we'll see. The other thing that's happened too is, I mentioned earlier about expanding. It's like, it's a thought, but it's all really about dollars and how much can you get if you do it.
Yeah.
And the price of real estate is ridiculous right now. So it's like, it's not only that, but it's the overhead function. Like I rent. My wife and I spent a lot of money in the building years ago, which is fine. We love it. But our rent's gone up 40%.
Jeez.
But it's still reasonable.
Yeah. Even that whole area is built up.
Even that being said, we're probably in the low 30s.
Okay.
The new buildings you see in Plaza are $50 a square foot. That includes no upfront. So I don't know how small. It's got to be whoever's going in there.
Yeah.
It's got to be multi-million-year business. It can't be some little pop-up because you're looking at, 1,000 square foot building in that area. It's going to cost you $5,000 for 1,000 square feet. You can't do a whole lot with 1,000 square feet.
No.
That's what the rent's looking like. Not just there, but NODA's the same way. Probably 50 plus, South End 50 plus. It's like you start looking, it's like, I'd love to have a 1,000 square foot pop up in South End or North or NODA. And I did briefly consider it. I'm like, okay, it's going to cost almost as much as we're paying here. You got to staff it and you got to have inventory. I was like, I don't see how it can work.
Yeah. Well, I know that some of the, not that it's guitar business, but the one or two of the breweries, they folded just because of the rent.
Yeah.
Started to get ridiculous. And they were like, we can't handle that. We don't own the building. I mean, in Charlotte,
it's a piece of it, but you're right. I mean, I looked at it like, hey, I even found a cool place like Asheville would be great too.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's like, I don't want to duplicate, what we're doing here there because it takes a ton of money.
Yeah. And
then the outcome is going to be what? It's like our best forecast is to maximize, have the best people, the best staff, take care of our customers and maximize how much we can do in Plaza Midwood. So that's our plan is we're not going anywhere. We're just going to try to keep improving and deliver as much as we can. And we can control that to some degree. I would like to grow some more, but I think, I don't know, with the real estate prices, I'm not really sure. And that's just a piece of it.
Hey, that's a huge piece though, because it's, you just look at homes in the Charlotte area and, I talk to other homeowners and the thought is, well, I'd sell and move someplace else, but where am I going to go? You can't go anywhere because you're lucky. You can't find the same house that you bought for whatever, let's say 150,000.
Yep.
It might be 350,000 now, but you're not going to get the same house for 350,000 you just sold yours for. It's not happening. Not in this real estate market anyway.
No, it's still pretty amazing on the houses. It's ridiculous actually for what it is. I've seen a few just in our area where pre-COVID, you can look at the building construction materials house sell for $300,000-$400,000, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That same house is $1 million.
Yeah.
Same house. It ain't got better. It doesn't have thermidor appliances or panel refrigerator. It's the same house, basically.
Yep.
And it might be a track home.
Yep.
And it's $1 million.
Yep.
And people are buying them.
Yep.
And that's crazy.
And I can't imagine commercial real estate. It's not like they built it better.
No, it's the same thing. For instance, like in commercial, I did have some dialogue with our landlord. Unfortunately, he passed.
Yeah.
He has 5 kids older than me. I'm 55. We haven't really had I had a lot of conversations with John, and they just weren't ready to do anything because the previous tenant didn't really pay rent for a long time.
Gotcha.
And so they just had rental income, and I'm not really sure. I don't think they plan on selling it. But 2 years ago, we lost Soul Gastro, which was a big blow to the neighborhood. Yeah. Soul was a great restaurant. Wasn't their fault, but they didn't own the building. Their rent went from, I think, 20-something to 50, and they couldn't do it, and then they left. And they sold that property for, it's 4,000 square feet. It sold for $3.2 million, which makes our building's right at 3. The owner also owns a Pearson Place beside me, which is 1,000. So our building's 4,000 square feet. So today's market would put our building at $3 million. I'm like, wow, I can't swing that either. So you just pay the rent, but that's nuts.
Makes you think, why didn't I think? If I had known this years ago, I would have bought it when it was, not worth that much.
Oh yeah, they won't sell it, but it's like, I would think it's probably less than that, but still, it's a lot.
Yeah,
and it's like you look around, it's like the new project in Plaza. I'm for it. There's some people that hate it, but there's 400 new apartments and there's 100,000 square foot of retail.
Right.
They also saved the 2 old mill buildings on the property are being renovated. They basically kept the exterior and are gutting the inside out, and it's going to have 24-foot ceilings in there.
Wow.
It's going to be really cool. They've got one of the buildings has a rooftop restaurant, live music. It's going to be super cool. But that building, if you took 4,000, I'd like to have another 1,000 feet. 4,000 square foot building there would be probably close to $20,000 a month.
Wow.
15 at least. So I'm like,
it's insane. I can't even fathom how much business.
Just figure if you were, most margins are 30 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Not saying you could make 30. So you basically would have to do about $50,000 to $60,000 a month just to pay the rent.
It's insane.
So that's $600,000 a year to pay the rent.
It's insane.
No profit. You still got staff. It takes a lot more than that. So it's like, but you look at it like, there's a lot.
And that's why I think what's the number on that? 50% of small businesses in the U.S. fail in the first 5 years or something like that. I mean, you look at what everybody's got to go through.
Maybe faster. I mean, it takes a lot. It just takes a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I came from a construction background, a pretty large company. I've had zero retail.
Right.
But I did, P&L. It's no different than doing a cost report for a job. It's the same. If you're building something for a price, it's no different. It just takes a lot of money.
Well, it's money
to operate. I mean, you have inventory, and it's like you can't just walk outside. Oh, I need some more money. It's like you got to come up with it. Well, so it takes a lot more. People look at it. It's like it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're building a house. Guess what? It's going to probably cost you 20% more than you think. So it's like you got to be prepared for that. It's kind of, I'd say the cash challenge, whatever you're doing, that's probably the hardest part. So because it's like you've got to sell.
Yeah.
In simple terms, you got to sell more than you spend.
I just think given this market with everything going on, there's not a lot of room to make errors in your business these days, to fail and say, okay, we did this wrong. It's like when you got to come up with that kind of money just to cover rent and those amount of sales, like there's not a lot of room to just make, learning curves. You got to go into the business kind of knowing what's going on already.
Like I said, for me, just from my perspective, the rent is it's probably not as, it's not like my number one. It's kind of a bummer to get a 20% rent increase, but it's like, I know I can't go anywhere else.
Right.
But I'm also talking about, I mean, that rent might be what I pay one vendor this week.
Right.
Just one. So.
Yeah, but you got to do the sales. That's the bottom line.
The inventory purchase is the challenge for everybody, in this business because it comes at you in waves and comes all the time.
Yeah.
And the sales is a variable. And that's what it's like you line it up Friday night, play football, and it's like, that's the flip side is like you're competing to sell a product.
Right.
And you still have stuff. They don't care if you really sell it. It's not their job. it's coming.
I'm just curious. I haven't been over there in a while, but the Soul, is there anything occupying that building?
The building's empty. They had no real income since they bought it. So it's been sitting for over 2 years.
So nobody, they jacked up their rent so much that nobody can afford to rent it.
They bought it and jacked the rent up, and it's been empty. So they've probably missed out on probably $500,000 worth of rent. Something supposedly is going in there good. I don't know what it is. But there's also challenges where, Plaza's awesome. I love the neighborhood, but parking's a premium.
Yeah.
Like that building has 0 parking.
Yeah.
That one's grandfathered in.
Oh, I know, because I got towed there one time. I went to Soul a number of years ago, and I came out one night, and I didn't see the no parking.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, where the heck is my car? And it was towed.
I know. I hate it. There's some people. I mean, we do have 6 spaces behind our shop, which is not a lot, but.
No, it's super tight.
It's tight, but also like during the week, if you're coming out and see us, come any day of the week, you're welcome. Yeah. Monday through Thursday, no one's in the neighborhood. Yeah. So the whole back parking lot, there's probably 40 spaces in the back.
Right.
Parking is not an issue. Saturday it is an issue because there could be neighborhood events. Everything's open. So a lot of businesses, some have not reopened, but a lot of the restaurants are closed on Monday and Tuesday. So a lot of things, the neighborhood's really quiet.
Yeah.
Up until later part of the week or until the afternoon. Some restaurants like Workman's opens up at 4 in the afternoon. So a lot of places do afternoon. I think they do lunch on Friday through the weekend, but during the week they don't open until 4. So
that neighborhood's really growing.
It's changed. I mean, I think there hasn't been that much. Most of it's been more revitalization.
Yes.
I think the only building across the street that's not been refurbished is John's. The pawn shop. Mm-hmm. The pawn shop's been empty since COVID. There's people looking at it, but that building needs a lot of work. And that building also is probably, I don't know what it is a month, but it needs a couple $100,000 worth of work. It needs all the utilities.
Well, that's the thing where sometimes they just tear down the building and it's
part of the old building, so it can't get torn down.
All right.
It's part of the old infrastructure there. I don't see that coming. That's part of the historical district, so those buildings won't come down.
Wow.
Unless some politician does some smooth work on that.
Which wouldn't be the first time.
No. I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, we do have the new project, the Commonwealth project. I think it's going to be, I mean, I like it because it is slow over there.
Yeah.
Not saying they're going to be our customers, but they can be. They can buy, pizza from Fuel Pizza, buy coffee from Milk Bread or wherever. There's going to be 400 residents probably walking around the neighborhood.
Right.
There's 150,000 square foot office. Wow. So guess what? There's thousands of workers that are going to go take lunch and eat lunch somewhere. So the neighborhood businesses are going to see some increased revenue from that project. There's also going to be new people coming to see it that don't really know about Plaza. There is a parking deck. I can't say it's big enough, but there is a parking deck in that project. So there's going to be a lot of positives out of that. And there's also another project near the fire station on Commonwealth. There is I think there's a 10 or 12 story building going in there.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah, it's Levine. Got approval.
Okay.
But there's no other plan. It's not going to be people it's not South End. We do have 2 buildings, but it's not like block after block.
But I just wonder how much, the growth is here. Charlotte's growing, but I just wonder how much when businesses move into some of the stuff, like let's just say South End, for example, how much is there a saturation point for some of the stuff? Almost, I've had this kind of same conversation with friends about the breweries in Charlotte. We have 70 something breweries at this point. Is there a saturation point where there's too many breweries, or how much can South End grow and how expensive can it be before people are like, well, we can't afford to live here,
Well, we're the oldest ones in South End.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people our age when we go. Yeah. We like it over there, actually.
I like it.
I like it. I like it where there's parts. Like, I love our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Love Plaza. I love Noda. I love Charlotte.
Yeah.
I've been there most of my life. I love Charlotte. But it's nice to go over there when you think, things look kind of slow here. And you go over there, it's alive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what I want Plaza to be, but people are all over the place over there. And so they're just there. So as people block after block after block after block, and now it's going into Loso, which is like lower South End.
Yes.
And then now it's going to go to the next street down there. So eventually all the way to Woodlawn is going to be developed eventually. So I bet you're right. It's like how much I'm kind of surprised too. And that's very, we're talking about real estate. Yeah. That's very pricey. And that's where all the young people, even my son goes, oh, hey, I can get my half of a 2 bedrooms, like $1,000. I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I was like, you also got to pay utilities. You got to eat every day.
Yeah.
I was like, look around.
I remember talking to a young couple, and they were in South End, and the 2-bedroom apartment they were in, there was like $25,000 or $33,000 a month. I was like, for a 2-bedroom apartment. I was like, I don't know how people afford that.
I don't either, especially when they're 21, 2 years old.
I mean, there is a lot of money out there, and there's a lot of people making good money, but
not everybody.
Yeah.
Some people are funded.
Yeah. That's true.
So it's it's like, but I don't know. Too bad we didn't invest in there 10 years ago because there was a lot of dumps over there.
Yeah. But who knew?
They saved all those buildings. I mean, there's a lot of new ones, but there's some old ones that they've done a good job with over there. They have the same challenges, parking, so probably as bad or worse than Plaza. We got caught one day. We went to the market. We didn't know what was going on, and we went up one of the parking decks.
Yeah.
On the upper floor, it's private for residents only. There's no sign telling you that. Yeah. So everybody was trying to go up the parking deck to park, and everybody went up top.
Dang.
And everybody's on traffic jam. Everybody's blowing a horn, cussing, shooting birds. It was nuts. And then they had the little roll up, like the gates roll up.
Yeah.
And one side went up, and a lot of these cars went through there, and that's the private residence. And when they did, the gate closed, and they couldn't get out. And I was like, okay. And so I did like a 20-point turn in my truck, and somehow we got out of there. I was like, I'm never coming back over here. I have been back over there. But parking, even if you're not on market times, the parking
can be ridiculous.
Because the last time I went, my wife, I said, get out. I said, you go in here to the store. And then it took us maybe 5 minutes, and I finally found a space. But
this is the one thing that's starting to bother me with the growth in Charlotte is that all the nice little perks you used to have are going away. Like when I used to go to the Music Factory, and I'd head over to see a concert. There used to be the dirt field, and you could go park behind there for free. And then all of a sudden they figured, oh no, we're going to start charging for parking. And it went from $5 to $10, and now it's up to $20-something just to park on the lot back there. You go downtown now, it's hard to even find free parking on the street.
We have the app, the Park Mobile.
Yeah.
You're going to pay. Yeah. You're going to get it one way or the other.
That's right.
But you know what? If you find street parking, I'm okay with it. I'll pay.
But you can't. It's ridiculous. And we were going to go see a Knights game over last weekend, and to go see the Knights game. So we're like, all right. So we drive down, and we didn't realize there was a big international soccer game going on. The parking lots that were usually $5 or so to go see the Knights play, $50.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Everything around the area was $40 and $50 to park. I was like, for parking? Talk about price gouging people. It's just crazy. I'm like, no. I'll stay up in the suburbs. If it keeps me from going to the city, paying all those crazy parking prices, I won't go into the city because I'm not paying
problem.
That.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Even in Davidson now, NODA, you go in there now, and it's like there's still free parking. You can find spots on the street,
not
but
any.
No.
We do the app, the little lot.
Yeah.
Behind the fire station.
Yep.
But it's a Park Mobile. It costs you, I don't know, $10 or whatever.
That just bugs me. It used to be nice, it's not nice anymore. It's like, nope, sorry, we're growing. We're going to need all this money. Somebody got a smart idea and said, we got to charge everybody for parking now.
There's not many park, but the other thing that gets me too is you have these developments. Well, there's no parking in development.
Yeah.
Maybe not NODA, but there's some in Charlotte. There actually is one in NODA, or like the new section. There's it's street parking only. There's no parking garage. There's no dedicated parking. There's 400 units. I'm like, how can you build the project with no parking? So guess what? There's people all over the place.
Yeah.
That live there, not people going to try to support a business or go eat dinner. It's like there are people live there on the street.
This is the growth.
Because there's no parking. So it's
I mean, heck, even in my little neighborhood here, I'll tell you what, there's so many cars, you know, I drive down in the street at night. There's cars, and not even just in the driveways, you know, in the suburbs.
We're
down the
we're
sides.
in town. We have the same. I have a neighbor. She won't listen, but she has 2 cars that don't work. She has one that's in the carport, and then she has another one in the street that actually will work, but she doesn't use it. And then she also has a daughter that's back home, so there's like 4 cars. Yeah. So there's always 2 in the street. And I have another neighbor that's always, there's a dozen cars, no different than you. There's a dozen cars in the street. So like,
everybody drives. It's a driving town. It is not a public transportation town as much as they'd like it to be. It is not.
Well, it's not set up that way.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There's no really plans.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be nice. It wouldn't really help us, but having a rail to the airport from uptown would be maybe a start.
That would be helpful.
You have to do a spoke. I mean, they did the Pineville to South End, which doesn't. I mean, if you live in Pineville, that's good. Yep. But if you live in Matthews and you live in over here, it doesn't.
Well, you got the university area.
Yeah. That goes to NODA.
Yeah. But it takes me 10 minutes to get over there, and then I got to park, and it's cheaper. It's easier for me to just drive over there.
Yep.
Wherever I got to go, even downtown, it takes me 20 minutes to get downtown. It's crazy with the growth, but
I think that thing's so far behind too. It's like there's another rail section like that's coming through Plaza.
Okay.
But I think it's in like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, we'll be, maybe we'll be or maybe we won't, but it's like, it's not going to be any, and by that time things have changed again, right? There's more growth, and so it's going to look a lot different. So, and it'll be outdated by the time they plan to build it.
I mean, I've only been in Charlotte. This is my 18th year in Charlotte. The growth has been incredible.
Yeah. I was born in Greenville, but we moved to Charlotte in the late 70s, and I lived in South Charlotte and went to school. I lived in Lansdowne off Sardis Road. And my side of the street got bused to First Ward, which was a 30, 45-minute bus ride, maybe longer. My neighbors went to Lansdowne, which was a couple blocks away. I mean, in hindsight, I learned it was good. Yeah. And back in those days, First Ward was the ghetto. Yeah. It was not what it is today. Today, it's full of townhomes, and there's a lot of nice areas over there. But it was really good school. And so we were here for like middle school, and then we moved to Lake Norman. We moved to Lake Norman in 1980. Nothing was up there. Broad School Road. We lived there for 4 years. And then Greensboro, finished high school in Greensboro. When I went to college, my parents moved back to Charlotte. I say I'm from Charlotte, but we've been all over the Carolinas.
Well, if you've been here for X amount of years.
Yes, I've seen a lot of it, yeah. And I had a house, my first house. We actually rode by it the other day. I bought it, I think, in 1991. A little ranch off Sardis. Had it for a while, and then my wife and I built a house out in Weddington, and we were in Weddington for 3 years when the kids, they both went to school over there, through elementary, middle, and high school. And then we sold our house a year too early, of course. I never timed the market. I think we sold in 19 and found a house in Cotswold that we love.
There you go.
So, and we didn't move to be in town, but it's so nice because now we're
close to work.
10 minutes to the shop, 10 minutes uptown. Like we can be in South Park. Like we can pretty much be anywhere. Plus we're not far from, we're a mile away from 74, so we can be at the airport in 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah. But now it's convenient where, just last night we went to Wesley Heights and got there in like 10 or 12 minutes.
There you go.
Because without traffic, but still.
Yeah. That's why I like nice. Where I'm at. It's a central location up here. Like I'm close to the city, and the only time I have to really travel too far is if I have to have a gig somewhere down like Waxhaw or
that's a pretty good little ride, but it's just occasionally.
Yeah, or Ballantyne. It's not too bad. No. But the nice thing is, I get to know a lot of the city. like I have friends who just like, they'll stay in Matthews and they never leave the Matthews area or Ballantyne. I'm like, have you not been up to Davidson? Have you not been? No, I don't know anything. And I'm like, why would you not? Like, there's so much to see. But I'm happy. I know. We
always did it, but we were also like, we were out on the Waxhaw side of Weddington. So it was a good, probably 35, 40 minutes to come up here. So we didn't come that often, but we would make trips to Plaza and Nodod and other places and come have dinner. But now it's nice where, we can go eat and get home. Not saying we're in a rush, but we can go eat and get home an hour and 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind the drive. No, I don't mind driving anyway. It doesn't really bother me that much. I mean, it's not that bad. I'm not driving during rush hour, so I don't really care.
Know what time you should be on the road or not.
Yeah.
So,
well, these days, it's like it doesn't matter what time you're on the road anymore.
Last week I had a customer that we had a private stock experience day, which is pretty cool at PRS last week. I had a customer from Florida that met me up there. We had a plant tour, and he spec'd out a private stock. Which was pretty sweet. However, on the way up there, I came through DC and Alexandria at 5:00. And actually, I guess I got pretty lucky. I think it only took me like an hour. So it could have taken a lot longer, but it's no different getting stuck on 77 over here. But same thing getting out of there. The next morning I left, and getting through that area is
not easy.
A pain.
Dang.
And I thought about flying, but I said I kind of want to be in control. Or if I get done, it's only 7 hours, 7.5 hours. Oh well,
do what I got to do.
It's not that bad, but that's a cool place. If you're ever in Maryland, the PRS factory is very neat.
They do tours and stuff.
They do.
All right.
Yeah, it's
I might hit DC this summer, so we'll see.
It's only about an hour from there,
from DC,
east of there. It's pretty amazing all the stuff he's designed. Though Paul Reed's incredible, like all the manufacturing stuff he's done.
That's a big company, man.
It's grown a lot. I mean, it's not as big as the other ones, but they make. I think they make 100 American guitars a day.
Wow.
So 3,000 a month. Plus they have all their import guitars. And there's machines everywhere, but they still do a fair amount of, handwork. It's not all machine built. I mean, there's still hand sanding, and there's still some parts of the guitar that are still done manually. But pretty incredible. I think they have 500 employees.
Wow.
3 shifts. It's
they've grown.
That business has tripled in the past 5 years.
Well, they've got a lot of people playing them.
Yep.
I mean, I could name quite a few artists. I mean, got Carlos Santana, Orianthi. I mean, just the people who love those guitars. It's funny how different players will gravitate towards certain guitars. They've got their thing. They like it. It does what they need to do, and they're happy.
They're pretty versatile. I mean, they've done... some of them get like fancy with some of the switching, but just the standard. Most of their guitar models have splitting humbuckers, so it's not a Telly or Strat. But if you want to split them, it's a nice feature. So you get a couple different sounds out of it. They also been real successful with their SC, the import lines. A really nice guitar, sub $1,000. It's pretty tough to beat. And now they have a new wave of them that are like less than $500, which is crazy. Bolt-on.
Wow.
Guitar for $499. That's a nice guitar.
Yeah, they are. They're beautiful. They're beautiful instruments.
Yep.
It just depends on your taste. Some people are like me, Gibson person. Some people are a PRS. Some people are Fender people. It's just you find your person or your mate.
Yeah, you're not going to sell the Silver Sky to a Fender player.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen.
They're great. They're awesome.
Yeah,
but traditional Fender, they want a Strat.
Yeah. That's what they want.
Even though that's really what that is.
Hey, Douglas, as we start wrapping stuff up, do you have anything we need to know about that's going on at Midwood Guitar Studio?
No, I just like to thank everybody for the support over the past 8 years, and we look forward to a bright future, and we'll continue to try to get the best product in the shop and provide you the best service. So just wanted to thank everybody in Charlotte and the surrounding area for supporting us.
Stop in and see them.
Cool.
They definitely have a unique shop.
Thank you, sir.
Great folks. Stop in and say hey to Douglas, folks. All right, Douglas, thanks, man. Have a great day.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening to episode 77 of the Queen City Music Podcast, and I hope you go back and check out past episodes. And if you could be so kind as to leave a review, I'd greatly appreciate it. You can find the QCMP on all your favorite streaming platforms. As always, if you have an idea for an episode or would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our local partners, Records on the Wall at rexonthewall.com. Reporting from 20XX at reportingfrom20xx.wordpress.com. Queen City Live at Instagram.com/Queen City Live Music. And Charlotte New Music at charlottenewmusic.org. Until next month, get out there and hear some of these local artists play.